Hello, Tech You Through fans. I'm back here with another video. I know it's been a while, but lately I'm working on my second channel, so it's basically about basketball, NBA, authentic game jerseys. So if anyone is interested in basketball and NBA, I will put the link down below. You can check my other channel, you can subscribe there too. But those of you who don't even care about basketball and NBA, you are at the right time and the right place, because here we are checking the newest, latest and even oldest technology. I still have love for technology and especially Apple products. Lately I got my hands on a 2-year-old MacBook Pro. So it is the 2019 MacBook Pro. This is one of the last MacBook Pros that has the Intel processor inside. Just a model later, Apple put their own silicon inside their computers, and that was a great choice because we all know that our iPhones and iPads are running with the Apple processors already for many years. So that means more energy efficient device, of course, that goes together with better battery life, less overheating, and the same goes for the MacBooks. So this one is one of the last Intel MacBooks, and as you can see, it has the TouchBar. This is the tiny display here where you can control brightness, volume. One of the last one for the Intel processors, and actually this TouchBar is already almost as good as gone, because the last MacBook that got this TouchBar was the first MacBook Pro that ran the M1 Apple Silicon chip inside. So basically that is the last MacBook with the Touch Bar. The second thing, this MacBook is one of the last that has this flat butterfly keyboard. There are actually 4 generations of this keyboard. From the very beginning it was really a pain using it. Not for me. I had butterfly keyboards on my MacBooks. I never had any dust inside or any liquids inside, so people always complained there was this keyboard gate. There were many keyboard issues, many complaints to Apple. So what they basically did for each generation, they reduced the opportunity for the dust to get inside these keys, and the last version is that the butterfly keyboard has the rubberized material underneath each key. So compared to the new MacBook Air or MacBook Pro with M1 chips, and actually my MacBook Pro with Intel chip, that is the 16-inch, the very first 16-inch model, these one got back to the scissor switch mechanism, the one we always loved and used before this era of computers. So basically this MacBook was really good for its time. This actually is a base model. So how can we know that it is a base model? Simply by looking on the sides here. There you have 2 Thunderbolt USB Type-C ports, but on the other side you have only the headphone jack. So the base model always had 2 Thunderbolt USB Type-C ports, but the next step up was a more powerful processor and 2 USB Type-C ports on each side. That was the first visual difference. Otherwise, there were only the differences how you built your computer. So how much RAM did you order it with, how many gigabytes of solid state drive you had ordered, and so on. So this base 2019 MacBook Pro had the 1.4 gigahertz quad core, so 4-core CPU processor. That is the Intel Core i5. So that was actually a really good one, because in 2017 and 2018 the base models, I think, had only dual-core processors. You can only opt for a quad-core later, or only with the big brothers, the 15-inch models. If I'm not mistaken, of course, I have to check once again. But this was the first year that they put the quad-core on the base model. So 1.4 gigahertz seems not such a big number, but actually for quad-core it was, and it really is till today, a really powerful processor. So next there was 8 gigabytes of RAM memory. It is 2133 megahertz chip. That is LPDDR3, and it has a basic Intel Iris Plus graphics card built inside, so no dedicated, no second video card as we used for the more powerful 15 inches or 16 inches that support Intel processors. Because as we know, for today's Apple M1 chips and M1 Pro and M1 Max, they had everything, the CPU, the GPU, the RAM, the solid state drive all together in one tiny chip. So that wasn't the case for the Intel MacBooks. They had each component separately. They had processor built inside the motherboard. Same goes for the RAM that was separately on the motherboard, as well as the SSD. And the thing is, if we could change the SSDs and RAM for the much older MacBooks, that wasn't the case starting from 2016, when the first Thunderbolt, USB Type-C and TouchBar models appeared on the market. Before that, for the 2015 models, it wasn't possible to upgrade the RAM, but at least they allowed us to replace the SSDs. So no such thing starting from the 2016 till today. So basically, I have to say I love these butterfly keyboards. If you got used to type on these ones, it really was a joy. And actually later moving to the scissor switch mechanism, it was not that easy to go back, but as it is for all new devices, you just get used to it. And after using the scissor switch mechanism, it's actually really strange to go back to the butterfly ones, because the butterfly keys are really bigger and much more closer to each other compared to the scissor switch MacBook Air M1 computer. So of course we could run all the benchmark tests, check the power, how powerful it is, but maybe you already saw a bunch of videos, reviews on YouTube that run all these tests. Basically, I want to describe what is the main difference between the M1 Apple Silicon computers, MacBooks, and the Intel MacBooks. So it's basically two things. So the Intel MacBooks are actually really powerful. They have great CPUs, and the big MacBook Pros have a great secondary or main video graphic cards. But the thing is, these computers are getting very, very hot very soon. And if you are working on a video project, you can feel it right away. The cooling fans are starting to make a loud noise very soon. That is not the case for the M1 processor MacBook Pros and MacBook Airs. It takes really much longer time just to start to hear these coolers going to work. And the best thing about my personal MacBook Air M1, it has no cooler inside, no fans inside. So it's always silent. Of course, it gets a little bit warmer when I edit a video, but it is silent and you can't hear anything. That's not the case for this or any other Intel MacBook. Once they start to feel the pressure that they need to put all these separate parts to the work, compared to the M1 that has only one chip that everything is working as a team inside, they need to put these components to work each separately or together. The fans are kicking in and you can hear the fans start screaming and making such a noise. This first point goes to the second one. Because of the heating, because of the fans, the battery life decreases very fast and it just jumps from the 90% to 60 to 40 in no time. That is not the case, I don't know about the new MacBooks, MacBook Pros with the M1 Pro or M1 Max chips, but I know for sure that my MacBook Air with the M1 chip can edit, render a video and have a bunch of battery percentage left. You cannot say that about the Intel MacBooks. That's just the way it is. So basically these two things, overheating with the fan noise and battery life. Otherwise, this MacBook Pro with the Intel processor inside has even better display compared to my M1 MacBook Air. So M1 MacBook Pro has the same display as this one, but because MacBook Air M1 has a better battery life, it surely has to get it from somewhere. So the display on the MacBook Air M1 is actually 100 nits less brighter than this MacBook Pro. So this is a great display. Each MacBook Pro and each MacBook Air these days has a great Retina display, super resolution, beautiful colors, True Tone display. You got everything that you need. But if we talk about the brightness, this display is much brighter than the M1 MacBook Air has. So everything else, great trackpad, the best in the business. Beautiful keyboard. And for the TouchBar fans, I know that you are a couple of you that love the TouchBar here. The thing is, people are missing the TouchBar and people are missing all the past technologies that Apple created. For example, the old iPhones had 3D touch and people never knew what is actually a 3D touch until Apple just took away the 3D touch from us. So now, starting from the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, we have a haptic touch, long press touch. So they put out the technology, the 3D touch, and suddenly we all are missing the 3D touch. Where is the 3D touch gone? We want it back. But when we had the 3D touch, we never used it, we never missed it, we just never thought about it that much as today. So the same goes for the touch bar. There are people that are missing the touch bar, but before, people hated the touch bar because they said, just give me back this keyboard with the function keys so I can change the brightness and the volume manually, not by clicking the touch bar, moving it. There are too many things to think about to just quickly change the volume or any other function. The human nature is that we miss something that we lose. So of course I like the function keys, I like to change each function manually and as quick as I want, plus minus. But at one point, people were used to the touch bar and Apple just wanted to implement the touch bar. For me, it started to get very laggy on my MacBook Pro 16-inch, the first 16-incher. If you want to see a review for this computer, you can check my channel. I have a couple of videos about my MacBook Pro 16-incher. And the touch bar got very laggy lately, after a year or so. I don't know why. But that was the functionality that I really couldn't wait for. The lagginess was too noticeable, the computer was fast, each step was very fast, opening app was fast, working inside the application was really fast, and then the touch bar just started to lag. That was the thing I never miss about missing the touch bar. But there were people who were used to touch bar. For example, if you go to the Photos app, you can check the photos by scrolling through the photos. You could edit a photo by moving the finger left or right. My main message is actually we all are getting used to the device that we have on our hands and that we are using daily each day. The human nature is that we just adopt to the technology and to the device that we have on hand each and every day. So touch bar or no touch bar, 3D touch or no 3D touch, that is only a question on how quickly do we want to adapt and how less we think about the past while using these devices. And by the way, you can write down in the comments section below how do you like this visual today, because I'm filming with my iPhone 13 Pro Max and I'm using this new cinematic mode. So basically it doesn't go up from the 1080p Full HD resolution, but it should create some kind of blur, some kind of bokeh effect. So I'm testing this out and maybe you can say how you like this function because it's the first time that I'm implementing it in my channel. There will be some tests. I will make some tests for this MacBook Pro computer. Just wanted to share my opinion. And the main things, the main differences, I have to give away this computer for the person who gave it to me because it's not mine. But in the meantime, I'll try to make some tests and some comparison to my MacBook Air M1 processor chip. Maybe a little video editing test, quad-core i5 Intel processor versus Apple Silicon M1 chip. So that will be interesting. Maybe the quad-core gets a little bit faster by getting louder, getting the fan spin and getting really hot. Maybe it helps the Intel processor to render or and export the video clip much faster than my MacBook M1 Air does that. Who knows? We'll have to check. I'll try my best, and for now, thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. It means really much to me. That's a great way to support my channel by subscribing, and please click the bell icon so you never miss out on any future videos. I hope that there will be many more videos in the future, because as I mentioned, I have a second channel where I worked really hard from the ground to get this channel with as much content as possible, and there were not many technologies on my desk to review them, but time to time I get something and I want to show you on this channel, so stay tuned for take you through next episodes. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them for me. And if you want to see NBA basketball jerseys, just click on the channel link down below. Anyway, let's meet in the next episode of Take You Through.